remember just to do one simple action, and tennis is no exception to this, but it may be easier than it seems. A survey of this class showed that 64% of you thought tennis was frustrating and or boring. When asked the question, do you think tennis is frustrating to the point it is not fun in a brief interview, Chris One responded, no, it's still fun, as long as you're not playing against a tennis genius. These tips and techniques I'm going to show you today will make tennis an easier, more enjoyable game, and hopefully that 64% will give tennis another chance. I've played tennis for 6 years, so I know how frustrating it can be, but I fought through that frustration, and I became a lot better tennis player. During that 6 years, I studied many different techniques to better my own game, but it all comes down to the basic techniques. I've also been to 3 different tennis camps and I've played on varsity tennis for every year. Today I will show you how to combine your stance, your grip, and your swing to hit a tennis ball the right way. First, let's start with the stance. This is basically the central stance, or where almost every move in tennis starts from. It can be easily compared to a basketball stance, where your knees are slightly bent, you stand on the balls of your feet are staggered with your dominant foot slightly forward, and you're relaxed but you're ready. If you're tense in this stance, then your moves will be sloppy and won't be as quick. Some pro athletes, when practicing, put wooden blocks on the heels of their feet so they can practice staying on the balls of their feet. This is a little extreme, but it just shows how important being ready in tennis is. Now let's move on to racket grips. There are many different grips in tennis, like ranging in the thousands, but it comes down to 2 basic ones that people start out with. The first is called the continental grip. It's basically like a handshake. It feels natural to most people, so this is what most people start out with. Now the second grip is called the Eastern grip. The Eastern grip is basically gripping the racket all the way around with a lot tighter grip. And the Complete Beginner's Guide to Tennis, written by Rex Lardner, he says it gives it a lot more control over the racket, but your muscles are a lot more tense as well. Now these are just 2 starting points for getting your grips down right, but from here you can personalize your own grip switch to play the most comfortable way you possibly can. Now let's move on to actually swinging the racket. In the swinging stance, you start from your central stance, but then you move about 90 degrees and pivot off one of your feet, depending on where the ball is going. And when you pivot, you also bring your racket back, and your arm is in an open V shape. And when you're actually swinging, you start from low to high. You follow through to your opposite shoulder. And when you're doing this, you want to kind of put your body into it so it gives it more power, along with turning your hips and turning your back foot so it's a lot more powerful. And I'll show you more pictures on how the follow-through goes. And that's about mid-swing. In mid-swing, you want to kind of hit the ball around the hip height, and you don't want to hit it on the up bounce, you want to hit it on the downward bounce. And that's the follow-through. You can see his back foot is turned and his hips are turned. That gives him the most power out of it. And now we'll move on to a video to elaborate on this. Hold on. I got the audio.
Tennis Center here in Austin, Texas, as well as a USPTA certified teaching pro. Today we're going to talk about how to correctly hit a tennis ball. The general rules to correctly hitting a tennis ball is making contact in front of your body, over your front foot, watching the ball bounce up and moving into your strings, making contact in the sweet spot of your racket, and following through. When you hit the ball, you're going to start with your racket back, swing into mid-contact, following through, up above your shoulder. General rule of thumb is starting low and finishing high. You don't necessarily have to hit the ball hard. As long as you make contact in that sweet spot, your racket acts as a trampoline, sending the ball skyrocketing back. It's good to use your opponent's power against them. You don't have to generate your own power, just ricochet the ball back. you've ever hit against a backboard, nobody ever beats the backboard. It's stationary. You're the one hitting the ball back at it. The ball bounces off the wall and comes right back every single time. So again, you don't have to swing hard to correctly hit a tennis ball. You want to make sure you watch that ball, have it come up to the sweet spot of your racket, follow through low to high, and finish your stroke up here. That's how to correctly hit a tennis ball.
And now I'll show you two different practicing techniques you can do at home or anywhere. First one is simple. You just bounce the ball on your racket. This may seem easy, but some people find it very hard. It teaches you control. And once you get good at it, you can try moving around doing it. And then turning your body when you do it. That. Then when you get fancy, you can turn your racket. Then hit on the side. Or do whatever. Okay, the second exercise you can do is just rolling it around the rim of your racket. This is another control exercise. And it doesn't matter how good you are, we do these exercises every year in tennis. Just do it like that. Okay, and those are two easy exercises you can basically do anywhere, at your house, on the porch, or whatever. Now, putting stance, grip, and your swinging techniques together will give you a big head start in developing your tennis skills. Last year, I didn't practice for a very long time, and it took me over half the season to get my forehand back. This just shows you how important constant practice is for not just tennis, but for anything you want to do. And it still may be frustrating at first, but with these techniques, you'll be able to increase your tennis game by a lot more in a lot less time. Tennis is a game that's built on technique, and even though just hitting the ball has so many aspects to it, it's just as important as any other part of the game. The most important thing to remember when starting something new is don't just give up right away. It may be frustrating at first, but new things will take time, and if you wait, the rewards will be amazing. Thank you.